The way he said the word mistake felt like a sledgehammer to the chest, but the real pain was knowing his lie had cost me everything I had saved. My entire, quiet future. We were standing in the crowded corner booth of the Golden Spoon Diner. It was Friday at lunchtime, and the booth was still sticky with old syrup. The air was heavy, smelling of burnt coffee, sizzling onions, and a sticky sweetness that now felt completely fake. This was our spot, the sanctuary where we carved out our big plans on paper napkins. His name was Kevin. He was standing too close, leaning over the table, but his eyes were already far away, looking over my shoulder toward the diner exit. He was wearing a new jacket, expensive, smooth leather, the kind that didn't belong on our side of town. He was talking in a low, rushed voice, like he was trying to outrun his own terrible words. I watched his beautiful, confident face, and I saw the betrayal already written there, dark and flat, like a smudge of grease. He told me we were done, finished. He said the love we had built, the promises we whispered late at night, the future we planned, it was all going away like smoke. This was the retention wall. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't reach across the table. I just stood there, completely still, letting the shock turn into something colder and harder. I was waiting for the final, cruelest words, the ones that would justify his escape. He took a slow, deep breath, puffing out his new jacket, trying to sound powerful and important. Dating you was a mistake, Sierra. A big one. I need someone who understands my future now, someone who can roll with the big players. You just don't get that level of ambition. My vision blurred, but not from tears. It was from the sudden, sharp, terrible rage. He was calling me a mistake because I was a small, quiet, hard worker, saying I wasn't good enough for his shiny, grand plans. He was stomping on every single sacrifice I had made for him, treating my loyalty like a cheap napkin. He thought I was just some girl who would cry into her lukewarm milkshake, gather her tips, and walk away small and broken. He didn't know the terrible secrets I held. He didn't know the exact, crushing price of the mistake he had just named. I looked at him, and I felt the weight of the last 6 months, the long nights, the aching feet, the empty savings account, drop away, leaving me cold, empty, and perfectly focused. I didn't raise my voice above the chatter of the lunch crowd. I leaned in close, so close his face went pale with pure fear, because he knew what I was about to say was not going to be gentle. I didn't answer his cruelty with tears or pleading. I answered it with a quiet, terrible truth that only he and I could hear. Funny, I whispered, my voice cutting through the diner noise like a piece of glass. I just told your mom about the... And I let the silence hang there, heavy and thick, watching his beautiful, lying face crumble into 1,000 pieces of panicked terror. The backstory, the weight of $10,000. Kevin was not just my crush. He was my entire investment. He had a big dream, to open his own recording studio downtown. He was genuinely a talented music producer, quick with a beat and a clever hook, but he was chaotic. He had no money, no business sense, and a giant appetite for expensive clothes, fast food, and flashy things. I was the opposite of chaos. I was quiet, organized, and focused. I worked 2 jobs, one stocking shelves at the massive all-night grocery store, one waitressing during the day in this very diner. I never bought anything new. Every single dollar went into my savings account. I wanted to use my money for college, for a business degree, for my own stability, for a way out that didn't rely on luck or someone else's mood. But Kevin was good at talking. He convinced me that we were a team. He made me believe that his dream was the fastest, loudest way to achieve our dream. He told me that if he could just get the initial $10,000 to sign the lease for the perfect downtown studio space, the studio would launch, and we would be rich together in a year. He promised marriage, a quiet house far from the noise, and a life away from the small, noisy apartment building we both lived in. The day he needed the last $10,000, he looked me in the eyes, holding my hands across this very sticky diner table. His grip was warm and steady. He swore on his mother's name that it was safe, that it was the last step, that it was our future. I pulled out my entire savings, every penny, $10,000. It wasn't just my college fund, it was my safety net. It was the feeling of knowing I could always run if I needed to. It was everything. I felt the paper check leave my hands and the heavy, empty feeling in my stomach immediately. The second the check cleared, Kevin changed. The next day, he got a fancy new wardrobe. He leased a flashy, low-to-the-ground car that smelled like new leather and money. He stopped coming to the diner. He started talking about his new network and high-level collaborations with people whose names I couldn't pronounce. He stopped talking about us and started talking about his success. 6 months later, here we were, meeting for the first time in weeks. He was calling me a mistake because I was still wearing the same cheap uniform, still working those same long hours, while he was ready to step into his expensive new life, using my money as the doormat. His mistake wasn't dating me. His mistake was thinking I was too dumb to track where my own $10,000 went. His mistake was stealing my future and thinking the crime was invisible. The climax. The weaponized truth. Kevin grabbed my arm across the table. His eyes were wide with a frantic panic I hadn't seen since he almost failed his final history class. The waiter walked by, pushing a heavy cart of dirty plates, but Kevin didn't let go. He knew exactly what the full sentence was. "What did you tell her, Sierra? Tell me. Did you tell her about the—" He physically flinched, unable to say the words out loud in a public place. I pulled my arm away gently, deliberately. The rage was gone now, replaced by a cold, surgical control. I felt no emotion, only purpose. I finally finished my sentence, but not for him. I said it for the history, for the truth that needed to be known and could not be taken back. I just told your mom about the secret car loan, the huge credit card bill, and the studio lease. This wasn't the first twist. This was just the opening of the wound. Kevin's family was working class. They didn't have much, but his mom, Ms. Eleanor, was fiercely proud and terrified of debt. She was also the co-signer on his current paid-off car, the cheap, reliable one. Kevin had lied to his mom months ago. He had convinced her he sold the old reliable car for a small profit to pay the studio's early deposit. But he didn't sell it. He took out a massive high-interest second loan on the paid-off car and secretly used that money to fund his expensive leather clothes and the flashy lease on the new car that sat outside the diner right now. If his mom found out about the secret loan, she would pull the co-signing papers immediately, and the bank would seize the car. The car he needed to drive downtown every day to look like a big producer. Kevin shook his head violently, his voice a desperate, harsh whisper. No, she can't know about the car. That's the one thing that keeps me looking real. She'll kill me. I didn't answer. I just watched his fear. The fear was real. The shame was deep. Twist 1. The studio was a damp basement lie. Kevin began to plead, his confidence dissolving into sweat. He started to explain that he could pay off the car loan next month, after the studio officially launched. You don't understand, Sierra. The studio is everything. The lease is signed, the expensive equipment is installed. I just need 1 month of sales, and I can pay you back, I swear. He thought the $10,000 I gave him was for the equipment and the real lease. He was still trying to sell me the same big lie he sold his mother. I leaned back against the red vinyl booth. I took a deliberate, slow sip of my water, letting the coldness travel through me. I didn't rush his breakdown. The lease, Kevin? I asked, my voice flat and empty. Funny, because I just had a long talk with the building manager, Mr. Jones, this morning, right before I came here. Kevin froze completely. His eyes went wide and glassy, fixed on my face. He knew I had crossed a line he never expected me to approach. I told him, I continued, that he should check his bank records for my name. Because the lease you signed 6 months ago was for the huge, perfect space at 1240 Market Street. And the $10,000 I gave you wasn't for the deposit. It was for the first 6 months of rent, all paid up front, in cash, so you could start fast. Kevin's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The truth was burning his throat. But you never moved into 1240 Market Street, did you? I finished, my voice dropping lower. You canceled that deal 2 days later. You moved into the cheap, tiny storage space at 98 Main Street. You rented the old laundromat storage room, a damp box that smells like old bleach and mildew. You kept the difference in rent, about $7,000, and told me it was for equipment costs. The big studio you're bragging about is a tiny, dirty basement, and you used my entire future to pay for 6 months of a lie. The shock on his face was total. The studio, the centerpiece of his whole identity, the grand dream he built to excuse his greed, was a lie built on my sacrifice and his own selfishness. But I wasn't finished. I still needed to expose the biggest, crueler betrayal of all. The one he didn't even know I was watching. Twist 2. The mother's ruined hope. Kevin took a desperate step back, hitting the diner wall with a soft thud. He looked around, trapped, like a deer caught in the streetlights. How did you know about 98 Main? Who told you about the money? I shook my head slowly. Nobody told me, Kevin. I had to go find out for myself. I rode the bus downtown yesterday. I went to 1240 Market Street, the real building. I told him the rest of the story. The building manager, Mr. Jones, was a good man, a family man. When I asked him about Kevin, he looked sad. He told me Kevin had pulled out of the deal 6 months ago and had taken back most of the money. Kevin then told Mr. Jones the lie, that the money was needed for a family health emergency. But Mr. Jones, seeing the sadness in my eyes, didn't stop there. He knew my name because I had called the office many times, asking about Kevin's start date, full of hope. So, Mr. Jones told me one more thing, something he shouldn't have. He told me that 2 days after Kevin pulled out of the Market Street lease, Kevin's mom, Ms. Eleanor, called Mr. Jones herself. She called him to ask about a small, cheaper corner office space in the same building, I whispered, holding his gaze. She was asking for herself. She was planning to secretly open a quiet little storefront for her baking business, selling her amazing sweet potato pies and cakes. A place she always dreamed of having. Kevin's eyes finally filled with real tears, hot and frantic. Not tears of sadness for me, but tears of pure, terrible fear and shame over his mother's disappointment. Kevin's mother thought he had used the last of his money for his car loan, and she was so proud of his sacrifice that she was ready to secretly start her own business in a tiny corner office next to his big studio. She thought they would be next-door entrepreneurs, a mother and son building their futures together. But Kevin had ruined both of us. He had taken the money he got back from Mr. Jones and used it for his own expensive clothes and the flashy car lease. He had stolen the quiet hope from his mother, just like he stole my college fund. I didn't just tell her about the car loan, Kevin, I said, my voice hardening. I told her that her favorite corner office at 1240 Market is still free. And I told her that I paid the security deposit and the first month's rent on it this morning, in her name. The money I used was every penny I got from selling the only nice necklace Kevin had ever given me. I used that money to secure her dream, the real, honest dream he had crushed. Twist 3. The real owner of the studio equipment. Kevin went completely silent. He was trembling. He looked around the diner, desperate for a way out, for a final, last life raft. He was completely broken. His betrayal of me was now tragically entangled with his ultimate betrayal of the only person who ever truly believed in him. "You can't do that to her," he gasped. "The studio, the gear. I need that to make the money to pay you back, I swear. I have all my computers, my mixers, the expensive microphones. It's all there at 98 Main. I can sell it all. He thought the physical things, the gear, were his final safety net. He thought he could sell them off to cover his shame and make a quick getaway. I finally smiled then. A small, genuine smile that had no warmth, only triumph. The equipment, I said, drawing the words out slowly, savoring the sound of the truth. Let's talk about the equipment, Kevin. You know how you were always saying you needed a new soundboard? The really expensive one from the European company? The one that cost $4,000? He nodded desperately. Yes, I need that. I bought it for you last month, I continued. I used the very last of my emergency savings for it. I surprised you, remember? You were so happy you hugged me right here. It's mine, he yelled, louder this time. It is, I agreed calmly. But I had the box shipped to your address. I saw you sign for the package. He looked confused, his mind racing to keep up. You see, Kevin, your entire music career, your whole future, is currently built on my debt, my college money. But I made one final decision 2 weeks ago, right when you stopped answering my calls. I pulled out my phone and held up a single, simple document on the screen. It wasn't a bank statement. It wasn't a letter. It was an equipment line and security agreement, a legal document signed by me and notarized that made me the legal owner of every single piece of expensive new gear I had paid for. The gear was technically collateral, mine until the debt was paid. It was never a gift, Kevin, I finished. It was an investment secured against failure. And since you just declared our partnership a mistake, that means the investment failed, and the collateral is now due to the lender. I didn't wait for him to respond. I didn't need to. I just stood up, smoothed down my apron, and felt the weight of my 2 jobs return. But this time, the weight felt honest. I just sent the agreement to the local repo company, the one I found with a quick online search. They are already at 98 Main Street right now, collecting the collateral. The studio is empty, Kevin. The equipment that made you look like a big star is now mine to sell, to replace the money you stole. You have nothing left but a new car with a secret loan, and a very disappointed mother who will be moving into her new office next week. I walked out of the Golden Spoon Diner and into the warm, busy city street. I was $10,000 poorer for a time, but I was debt-free of him. I had my dignity back. I had avenged my future and, in a strange, hard way, I had helped his mother find her own quiet dream, free from his lies. My tears were gone. They had been replaced by the quiet, powerful feeling of freedom and self-respect. He called me a mistake, but I was the most powerful, calculated lesson he would ever be taught. If this story of silent revenge and justice made your heart race, hit the like button right now. Did Sierra go too far? Or did Kevin deserve the full exposure after taking her entire future? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe that quiet planning and self-respect are the best kind of payback, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You absolutely do not want to miss the next truth bomb.